Hey folks, I thought I'd do a little channel update just to let you know what's going on. So yeah, there's a couple of things going on in my life at the moment. So I've changed career, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about this because yeah, it's kind of personal stuff. But yeah, basically I've changed career, and temporarily I'm going to be working two jobs just while the first job is kind of like picking up. One of them is I'm working for myself. The other one I've just taken like a little kind of basic job in the evenings, just as something that's a little bit more stable while the first one picks up. So I'm working two jobs, and I'm also doing stuff for Explorminate as well. And I'm loving the work, by the way. Like, it's really hard for me to say because traditionally I've just been like somebody who always hated having to work. I always resented it. But like I've found a job that I really like. It's hilarious. So I've really got kind of getting into that and just enjoying sort of going to work and just feeling like a productive member of society rather than just some guy who sort of, you know, just plays games and writes games reviews. So I like, it's a very interesting experience. But yeah, so I'm kind of loving that. But yeah, it is kind of wiping me out a little bit, so I'm not able to do so many videos at the moment. I'm also quite busy with Explorminate because we're rebooting the site at the moment. Not in a, you know, we're not redesigning the website. That's not what I mean. But we've been given some funding in order to get articles paid for, basically. So I've been writing some articles. I'm writing a article for. It's a review of Remnants of the Precursors, one of my favourite games, and it's been out for a while now, and yeah, it's been out for since Christmas last year, and we really owe, you know, I owe it to Ray to do the review that I've kind of been promising to do for a while. So you have to understand that there's a big disclaimer at the start of the review that states, you know, look, Ray's kind of become a friend over the past few years since I've been playing the game, and I've been kind of, you know, bug testing it with him and just helping him out a little bit and just enjoying playing it, and he's become a mate. And so yeah, just bear that in mind when you read the review, because it's not going to be, I can't claim it to be completely unbiased, because yeah, but I do try to be, obviously I'm being transparent, right? So I try to be as critical of the game as I can, and but just be aware that yeah, it's one of my favorite games. So but I've made that quite clear in the review. Anyway, now that's out of the way, so I'm doing that. Rob's got some articles in the works, I believe. So yeah, the Explorminate site is going to be rebooted, and it's not rebooted. That's not the right word. We're just going to make more content for it, I think is what we're trying to say. So yeah, we're going to get some stuff out. So yeah, I've been a little bit busy with that, and I'll until this review's done, I probably won't be able to do much in the way of videos. So yeah, I just thought I'd do a quick channel update. This, by the way, is a game that I have been waiting for about 8 years, I think. However long it is since the first Total War Warhammer came out. This is Immortal Empires, and I tell you, it's really good. It's really good. I liked Warhammer 3, but like other people, I wasn't totally sold on the campaign. I don't think it's as bad as some people made out. And you know, we have to be able to, in discussing the criticism of Warhammer Total War Warhammer 3, have to separate the genuine criticism from the people who kind of like had genuine criticism and then carried on with the same criticism for 6 months straight and just didn't let up. So like, just ignore those dudes because they're never going to be happy. But I think most people seem to have problems with the main campaign, and it wasn't sandbox enough. I think that's probably the easiest way to put it. The game Total War works best when it's a big sandbox, right? I mean, look at this map. This is a massive map. That's Ulthuan there, and Nagaroth. And then you've got like the old world down here. It's so big. This game is so big. And it works best as a sandbox. And I think the focus campaign of Warhammer 3, it didn't really go down with people well. I didn't mind the Realm of Chaos mechanic too much. My problem with the game was that I thought that the factions were all a bit crap. The only one that I thought that was really well done was Khorne. Khorne is really good, and that's just because they have a kind of they have this sort of this melee focused playstyle anyway, and they just seem to have the most units that sort of help towards that. Whereas I felt that every other faction really lacked critical units that made it so you had to play them in a really strange way. Like when I've been playing Warhammer stuff since I was a kid, and I think I was like 9 years old, 10 years old when I first got a copy of Space Crusade, and yeah, it was Space Crusade, which was an MB Games and Games Workshop crossover. And from then I got into the original Rogue Trader game, so I bought a copy of that and I played it a little, and then I started playing Fantasy Battle as well. So I was playing Fantasy Battle in about 1989, 1990, and I didn't, you know, I was like 10 years old, so I didn't play a whole lot. I just collected all the stuff, read all the books, absorbed all the lore. So I've been involved in Games Workshop for years. I kind of stopped around about 1995, I'd say, when I discovered drinking and chasing women. So, you know, as a teenager, when you sort of move out of the air quotes, you know, kind of childish phase of your life, and you start moving into doing more adult stuff like drinking, going to school, you know, going to college and stuff, then, you know, I kind of dropped Games Workshop, unfortunately. But so my experience of Fantasy Battle is like 3rd edition, I guess. I think it must have been about 3rd edition, 3rd and 4th edition it would have been, probably. Maybe 4th edition was just coming out. I forget the exact dates now. Anyway, back in those days, the chaos stuff wasn't so shoehorned into just like, you know, the obvious stereotypes. So, for example, Nurgle wasn't just big fat, it wasn't always just big fat, you know, leaky entrails characters that were dead slow and regenerated. There was that, definitely, and that was an emphasis, but they you know, there was other stuff as well. Like Slanesh wasn't always just fast, armor piercing, you know, kind of, you know, devastating flanker kind of thing. They were very heavily magic focused, and lots of area of effect things that were coming off, like their soporific musk, that kind of thing. And it was just, and there were big fat Slanesh characters as well because they'd overeaten, and some of them were slow, and some of the Nurgle characters were quick because they were more like Grim Reaper type. It just wasn't so, I don't know. I like what Games Workshop have done because they've really developed the lore, don't get me wrong, but they also kind of painted themselves into a sort of corner by stereotyping the factions so much like they have. And that really showed in Creative Assembly's interpretation of Nurgle, Tzeentch and Slanesh, because like Tzeentch just became this like ranged faction. Like they had ranged stuff, but they weren't, that's not just what they were about, right? Same with Slanesh. I mean, you did have some marauders that kind of could hold the line, but those factions, particularly Nurgle, was crying out for Chaos Knights. Nurgle were just crap. Like I enjoyed them to an extent, but they were too slow, and you need fast units in order to keep the game dynamic. Like that's why the dwarves aren't that fun to play, in my opinion. I don't think dwarves are very fun to play. They're all right. They're not my cup of tea. They never have been. I'm a big chaos player, though. I've played chaos and tabletop forever. So with this champion, I've got to say, you need to Champions of Chaos DLC to make this work, because the Champions of Chaos DLC is what gives you these Chaos Warrior, you know, these marauders for all the factions and things like that. These are essential. Essential for gameplay? No, but for the fluff, definitely. And they just enable you to play factions, you know, in a more varied way. Like, and now I can have a Nurgle army. Look, I'm playing Archaon, right? And Archaon's campaign's really good fun now. I've just been playing. I played it overnight, and I got home from work, and I got in at like 10 p.m. or 9:30 and had my dinner, and then I was supposed to go to bed because I'm working 2 jobs, and I ended up staying up till 4 in the morning playing this damn game, because I was like, I'll just have a quick look at Immortal Empires, and I just ended up playing it all night because it's so good. Look, I mean, what is it? We're on turn 48. I've played about 3 turns this afternoon. So yeah, I played about 43 turns yesterday. And I've got like a Nurgle army going, like a Nurgle themed army. We've got Archaon with a bit of a mix of stuff. And then we've got a, let me just go through the guys. So we've got a Tzeentch themed army, and I've just got a Slanesh themed army on the go as well. It's cool. Like now you can have all these armies, and they don't have to just be full of demons. I really didn't like what Games Workshop did, splitting Beastmen and the demons and the Warriors of Chaos into separate factions. Yeah, I guess it allowed them to sell more miniatures and create more varied rosters, maybe. But it made no sense to me for demons to be a completely different faction. I don't like that. I just think that sucks. Like, I just liked it when you know, like, you could build a Chaos army, and then you could have Beastmen in there, you could have demons in there that were summoned, you could have Greater Demons, you could have Chaos Warriors, Demon Princes, all this kind of stuff. Like, I preferred that. I thought that was a better system. At least, just kind of was more fun. This, like, I see people complaining that this is kind of like diluted the factions out. It's like, no, this has made it better. You can still play with them like they were. You can still play Tzeentch as just this kind of like ranged faction that kites everything and relies on barrier, but you don't have to. Like, now you can kind of play them like as a normal army with a little bit of that. I just think I think this is loads better. I think it's just I don't know if this was intended as a game design by CA, or whether they've just kind of they realized that each of the factions did have a few flaws, and they thought, you know what, let's just throw all the the warriors and the marauders and chaos knights and the various units into each faction just for sake of completeness. But even if they have, just for fluff, it's just cool, man. Like now I can have a whole army of Nurgle stuff, including chaos knights. Chaos knights of Nurgle were a thing. You know, and so yeah, this is great. And where this is way better than the old days, by the way, is they've all got their own miniatures. They've all got their own, like, you know, like little units. And yeah, I guess they are technically reskins with a few statistic differences, but they're great. They're great reskins. They look good. I see people complaining about the Chaos Knights of Nurgle. They look fine. Not all Chaos Warriors of Nurgle should look like big fat guys with entrails leaking out. That's not what they all look like. It kind of annoys me. People showing their ignorance when they say stuff like that, in my opinion. You know, I know the law has changed, and I get it, but that's people need to forget about this whole idea that the Chaos Warrior, you know, Khorne is just like these frothing berserkers. It wasn't like that. Khorne was about honor as well. It was about, you know, honor and the skill of being a warrior, and, you know, as well as the sort of bloodthirst. The bloodthirst thing, I think that must have come from, I forget what they're called now in Warhammer 40k. The Chaos Space Marine Legion of Khorne. The berserkers, anyway. Yeah, that whole thing about them just being these kind of like frothing berserkers. Yeah, they did have that, but they weren't just that, you know. And I think that people sort of forget that when they're talking about Warhammer, like the chaos in Warhammer, because they, you know, like, oh, why are the Chaos Warriors just looking like the Chaos Warriors and Nurgles? They just look like reskins. But yeah, because they didn't all just look like plague bearers. That's not what they were about. We've got plague bearers. They're different. Maybe the chosen, you know, can be big, fat, and kind of leaky armor, but they don't all have to be like that. Anyway, so I'm going to stop ranting about the old days, but this game is great. This is really, really good. I have found a couple of bugs. I found a bug. What was the bug I found? So if you go to, it will be Nurgle and Slaanesh. Yeah, I just noticed a little bug here. So for example, if you go here and you go to the Marauders of Nurgle and you want to upgrade them with the warbands, oh no, you can't see it like that. Here we go, look. Well, let's go to an undivided Chaos Marauder, and you've got this new system where you can actually give them marks of chaos. This is really cool, by the way. I think it's awesome. But let's say I want to change it to Nurgle. It was actually locked out, and I think it was Slaanesh. It was getting mixed up with Slaanesh, so I think it's a Forsaken. So if I wanted to make a Forsaken, it didn't like it, because it was just like, no, you need to have this unlocked for Nurgle, and yeah, I don't know, anyway, a bit weird. So sort of, yeah, little bugs like this, but I've not had any crashes, I've not had any game breaking stuff. The performance is pretty decent. I've got a pretty good computer, but my graphics card's not the newest. It's a 1080 Ti, which is a good card, but it's getting on a bit, but it's not, the performance is perfectly fine for me. This is great. It's when I was running a frame FPS test, it was getting a steady I'm playing on 1440p, and I was getting a steady sort of 50-60 frames per second in big battles, so that's fine for me. I don't need anything better. I'm sure they can polish it up. Turn times are pretty quick. The longest turn, like at the start of the game, turn times are very quick, like getting under 20 seconds. At the about this point of the game, they're about 20-30 seconds, which is nothing. For anybody who's watched my Shadow Empire series, where you might have seen it when I was actually still recording the turn times. The turn times now in Shadow Empire with the best AI processing are like over 5 minutes. Sometimes they're longer. So, you know, don't complain if it's like, if you're getting a minute long turn time. That's nothing on a strategy game. Seriously, guys. I guess with a sort of more fast paced game like this, though, I can understand why people kind of got a bit annoyed at it. It was bad in Immortal Empires. I'm not going to defend CA there. The Immortal Empires turn times were on release were poor. That was quite frustrating, but anyway, yeah, so this is great. I don't know if I'm going to be doing any videos on it. I think there's enough people who do Warhammer Total War stuff, and I haven't really got much time to play games over the next few days, really, while I'm working on stuff. So, but yeah, give it maybe I'll do this as a Twitch stream or something, or, you know, like a live YouTube thing if anybody's interested, because that way I don't have to worry about editing it, and I could just kind of play for a couple of hours and then just bang it up. So yeah, this is great. I think this is a magnum opus for Creative Assembly, and yeah, they deserve some criticism for the state that Total War Warhammer 3 was released in, but credit where it's due. I mean, what they've created here is absolutely mad. Like, for any of you who haven't really been a part of the hype train, like, let me just save my game. For any of you who haven't been part of the hype train, and you haven't been watching videos on what this game does or what it is even. This is a game where they've basically rolled in all 3 previous games. So if you have to have all 3 Total War Warhammer games. So Immortal Empires isn't the main game, right? This is the icing on the cake for people who supported the games right from the start. And you can go and buy the base games for Warhammer 1 and 2. Warhammer 2 is a very good game. It's well worth having. Immortal Empires, the Vortex campaign isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. I think Realms of Chaos campaign on this game now is a lot better as well. Some people don't like it. You can, if you don't like the rift system, you can mod them out, whatever. In fact, I don't know if you might be able to. Can you mod that out now anyway? Have a look. I wonder, they might have included an option for being able to get rid of it. No, they haven't. No, so you still need to rely on mods for this. But anyway, let's have a look at Immortal Empires. Right, still technically a beta. Because they're saying that it's, there's still a few bugs and they're balancing it. But look, check how many races there are in the game now. And each race has got like multiple characters and different starts. I think this one here, Demons of Chaos Daniel, whatever he's called, this is the only one with 1 lord, but the rest of them have got like loads. There's so much content in this game, particularly if you've got all the DLC. It's funny because I bought a lot of the DLC, especially for Warhammer 2, after I started at university. And my course was so busy, I never even got a chance to go for a drink. Never mind sit and play games for 3-4 hours. Or even 2 hours. And I was like, so I bought all this DLC for this game, dutifully thinking, yeah, I'll play that when I get some time, and I never got any time because my university sucked. So like, I basically like had all this content, and now finally I'm getting the chance to go and play it. It's just so cool. Oh, by the way, sorry, the other Mono God faction so far, I've only got 1 legendary lord, so it wasn't just Daniel, but it's all of these guys will get some further ones. But definitely, if you're a Chaos fan, you absolutely want to get the Champions of Chaos DLC. It adds these 4 guys, but it just adds all the new units for it, all these kind of Chaos Knights, Chaos Warriors, and Chaos Marauders, and all the other stuff for the different Monogod factions, and it just makes the game way better. So if you're remotely interested in playing Chaos, you absolutely need that DLC. It is a must buy. I think without it, they have added a few units to the Monogod factions just to make them a little bit more interesting. But for example, you won't get Chaos Knights with Nurgle, and it needs it. They need Chaos Knights. Like, you need fast units with Nurgle, otherwise they suck. You're just relying on grinding down your opponent, and I know that's partly what they're about, but it doesn't make very fun gameplay when you literally, especially if you're fighting Nurgle versus Nurgle, and you're both sat there for like 10 minutes while they're just fighting and regenerating and fighting and regenerating, and especially if you're fighting a hard press battle where you don't have any numerical advantage. It was painful. It was just painful. Whereas now you can actually use proper tactics. So this is the best Total War game by a long way. It is by far the best Total War game. So anyway, so that's it. Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires. Early indications are that it is very good. It's exactly what I wanted. Yeah, no doubt there's a few bugs in there, and it'll need balancing and stuff, but there's like 85 legendary lords or something, like over 80 with all the DLC. It's mind-bogglingly big. So yeah, if you're even remotely interested in it, or you're like an old Warhammer player or whatever, check this game out, man. It's really good now. Okay, folks. What else have I been doing? Let me think. What else have I been doing? I've also been playing a game called MegaMek and MekHQ, which is it's called Against the Bot, actually. And so what Against the Bot is, it's a way of playing Battletech, a Battletech campaign. And I don't mean Harebrained Schemes Battletech. I don't like that game. I mean the original tabletop rules Battletech, but against yourself on the computer. So basically, you set up a game. It's quite complicated. It is very much like setting up a tabletop campaign, pen and paper, in the sense that you can, the game will generate things like character names and all this kind of stuff, and like it will do all the dice rolling. But it basically allows you to play a Battletech campaign in any era of the Battletech universe you want, and it just runs it all for you. So I'm just getting my head around that now, and I'm having an absolute blast. Like, Harebrained Schemes Battletech was all right, but also I'm not going to go into exactly why it is I didn't like that game. Suffice to say, the politics of the developers really put me off. Really put me off in a big way. I really was not. I did not like that. The other, but you know, that didn't stop me enjoying the gameplay. However, the gameplay eventually started showing big cracks, and I think that while it looked kind of nice, and if you ignore the awful characters and the fact that you're forced to interact with them, I couldn't stand it. But the you know, the way they implemented the game mechanics were kind of janky, and yeah, I don't know. I don't like that game. I can't. I've tried to go back to it and I can't. I just can't bring myself to play it. I've got PTSD from playing that game. So I was like, I really want to play Battletech, but I hate Harebrained Schemes game. I think it sucks. So like, what can I do? And I ended up looking and found MegaMek. I'm not going to show it off here, but it's kind of not much to look at. It looked like the campaign development side of it looks very much like, oh sorry, the campaign game side of it looks very much like Aurora 4X. It's mostly text driven, although it's got more graphics in it. And there's quite a lot of bookkeeping stuff you have to do, so it won't be for everybody. For example, if you can set the game so it pretty much plays like HBS's game, where your mechs have just a few slots and they're automatically replenished, and you don't have to worry about finding parts. Whereas the real meat of the game, tabletop, the tabletop role-playing game, is Battletech universe. At specific periods, the parts for the mechs were meant to be incredibly hard to find, and the technology was regressing because of some terrible wars that were going on and purges of technology and all sorts of things, and everybody was fighting over the best mech parts. So part of the game is like, when you've got a damaged mech, you've got to be careful going into a battle, because you'll pick your lance, and if you're up against something that is going to do you a lot of damage, and let's say you've got something like an Atlas, which is a big heavy assault mech, and you've got like a weapon on it that might be difficult to replace, you're going to be a little bit more careful about engaging with it, and you're going to pick your engagements more carefully. That completely removes one of the things that made Harebrained Schemes Battletech so crap, which was things like autocannons. I was actually watching Edmond, Edmond from Slytherin. Really cool guy, very, very clever, who's been number crunching HBS's Battletech just to figure out, kind of like what works and what doesn't. And he figured that things like autocannons and stuff in that game are just absolutely useless. They're completely useless, and you should always get lasers. And that was, from the reading I've been doing, that was also kind of the vibe on the tabletop, but not quite. And the reason is because if you're, bearing in mind that the Battletech tabletop game was also a role-playing game as much as it was a tactics game, right? And so the mech, things like, PPC cannons and stuff, they were quite high tech and they were hard to get hold of. So this game models it. MekHQ models it. So, for example, if you lose a PPC, or you're on campaign, or you're doing a mercenary mission, and you might be on a planet for 6 months, and you lose a weapon, your mech techs have to go and find it. They have to like, they spend time trying to find the parts, trying to procure them, and they can be very expensive. So it removes a lot of the crap that you got in HBS's game, which they couldn't. I mean, reasonably, it would have been difficult for them to put that in with that kind of level of complexity with the budget they had, I expect. But still, it removed, certain things that seem like no-brainers, like, medium lasers or whatever. All of a sudden, they're not no-brainers because you can't always get them so easily. And this is why I think it's good to, like, this tabletop game is so much better. That's just one small example, by the way. The other thing you can do is like extensive mech customization, like like anything you could do on the tabletop. I think I never played tabletop, but I've been reading a lot about it recently and watching loads of videos and kind of like swatting up on it. So yeah, MegaMek and MekHQ, or just Battletech in general, is my new favorite thing, and it's kind of got, I'll be playing that a little bit as much as I'll be playing Total War Warhammer 3, I think, because I just think that's it's just it's so good. I don't know whether it'll be something that'll be particularly fun to do as a let's play. It's possible, but I wouldn't mind doing. It might be something to do as a review at some point, because I've also been playing Aurora 4X. Finally got into that, and that's also a really good game. I didn't get far into it, but I know how to play it now, and learning how to play that game is no mean feat, because there's not very many good tutorials online. I don't know what it is. If anybody from the Aurora 4X community is watching, please somebody make a tutorial and have good audio. Like either the guys who are like doing these tutorials are mumbling, or they got really bad audio quality. Like there's just or they're just a massive long let's play. And you know, it's just I ain't got time to watch 8 hours of videos anymore just to learn to play a game. So yeah, Aurora 4X, it's really good if you can get into it. But when I was playing it, I kind of was like, it kind of reminds me of MegaMek, in the sense of, you know, it kind of looks quite basic and there's a lot of role playing aspect. So I kind of jumped back into MegaMek, and then I was like, yeah, actually this is really good. So yeah, that's another thing I've been doing. I started another Jagged Alliance 2 campaign with version 1.13 and been really enjoying that. As usual, I've kind of got about halfway through, and then I burned out on it a little bit, so I'm going to go back to that later. I've been playing Caster of Magic for Windows a little bit, and this is a really, really good game now. Like, especially on the lower difficulty settings, if you put it on normal, which doesn't give the AI all the tricks that it can use, it's actually quite chilled. Like the one thing that I would say about Caster of Magic for Caster of Magic in general was that the difficulty was just too high for most people. I'd say for most casual gamers. But actually, if you put it, that's because I was probably bumping up too high. If you put it on like the lower difficulty settings, it's very much like the sort of chilled pace of the original Master of Magic. So if you kind of bounced off Caster thinking that it wasn't as good as Master of Magic, go play Caster of Magic on a lower difficulty setting, and you'll find it's very much like the original, but just with better game mechanics and better spells, and, you know, better balanced. So yeah, excellent game. Really, really like that. So yeah, the only other thing that I might play at some point is this Brigandine. Brigandine Legend of Runesia is a really, really, really good tactics game. It's a console port. I think the original game was PlayStation years and years ago, but the remake, there's one on the Switch, and yeah, this game is amazing. Why is it amazing, Ben? Because it's really, really detailed in the amount of options that you have. So I think the best thing to do would be just to play it and show you. But so I'm not gonna go into it now, because I just wanted this to be kind of a channel update, so I've got something for people to watch. But Brigandine is really, really good. This is head and shoulders above many of the other tactics games I've played in recent years. It's just so good, and it's nice to play a sort of JRPG themed thing again as well, because kind of, you know, it's got a bit of a sort of Final Fantasy Tactics kind of vibe to it, I guess. But it's maybe a little bit more light-hearted than that, because Final Fantasy Tactics was really dark, whereas this has got a bit more of a, you know, light-hearted vibe to it. But it's, wow, yeah, game mechanics. Look at this. Daz has been playing it. Look, Daz Tactics has been playing this game, and he really likes this too. So yeah, go and check out this game. The control method on the PC is a little bit weird. I'd definitely recommend playing it with a joypad if you've got a joypad. And if you've not got a joypad, get one, because you can buy one for about £5, or, you know, $5. Jump on eBay and get a cheap knockoff Xbox 360 pad. You can buy them for about £6, and yeah, and enjoy this game, because it's amazing. This is, I think if you can get into it, this will give you hours and hours and hours of fun. And I've only played it a little bit. Look, I've only got 7.6 hours in it. So this game impressed me within 7.6 hours. It impressed me so much that I was like, yeah, I'm recommending this game that you buy. It's really, really cool. Other channel stuff, I've got a Shadow Empire video probably going up at the weekend at some point. Sorry about the delays in that. I've kind of struggled to find my motivation to play that one a little bit, but not because I'm not enjoying it. I just think that there's been other stuff. I'm also playing a daily multiplayer game that I'll probably start putting those episodes up, actually. We're about 50 turns in, and I've recorded every turn except the last one because I was just so busy from work one day. But basically, yeah, that's going to go up. I think we're at the stage of the game where I could probably start putting those up now, and it wouldn't ruin my chances of winning. So yeah, that's been really, really cool. Shadow Empire is really, really good multiplayer, by the way. It's really, really good. Is it balanced? Not sure. I don't think it's as bad as some people claim, but it's certainly, yeah, it takes a bit getting used to, but it is really, really good. And yeah, that's about it, I think. I haven't got much more to talk about, so I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Okay, guys, I'll catch you next time. Take it easy.